Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Engstrom. I'm the lead curator of our new exhibition, Great Whales Up Close and Personal. I'm really pleased that you could join us for today's Curator Conversation, which is a digital program that explores themes and subjects from the ROM collections alongside professional colleagues. I would like to take our opportunity to thank Toronto Dominion Bank for their ongoing support of this program. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the ROM is located on the ancestral lands of the Wendat, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Anishinaabe Nation, including Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. As I noted, today's program is in conjunction with our current exhibition, The Great Whales Up Close and Personal, which is now open, and it stays open until at least the end of March 2022. We would like to acknowledge the support of Nita and Don Reed and family, Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism, and the ROM's Royal Exhibition Circle donors in making the exhibition possible. I'd also like to acknowledge the Canadian Whale Institute for their contributions to the ROM exhibition, which included content and advice, and for participating in this program. I'd like to welcome my guest today for today's conversations. Mark Peck is manager of the Shad Gallery of Biodiversity and the ROM director of the Environmental Visual Communications program with the ROM and Fleming College. Mark has been with the ROM since 1983, with most of that time in ornithology. And he's been a strong member of the curatorial team, and he's helped develop our current exhibition, where he focused primarily on the conservation section of the exhibition. Mackie Greene is director of the Campobello Whale Rescue Program, was born and raised on Campobello Island. Mackie is the 30-year licensed captain, and since 1995 has operated Island Cruises Marine Adventure, a whale watching business on Campobello Island. In the winter months, he fishes lobsters and scallops. For many years, he taught navigation and marine safety courses at NBCC. He also worked as the marine operations manager for the New England Aquarium's right whale research team. In 2002, he helped set up the Campobello Whale Rescue Team. With the Canadian government support, Mackie and other team members undertook whale rescue training at the Center for Coastal Studies in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Mackie holds a level 5 whale disentanglement certification, one of an elite group on the Eastern Seaboard, certified by NOAA to disentangle right whales in the US. He served as a Canadian large whale disentanglement coordinator at the Center for Coastal Studies. Mackie is one of only 5 expert whale disentanglers recognized by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans Canada. Today's presentation is one of a series of digital and in-person programs that showcase the ROM's commitment to Canada's North Atlantic whales and to marine conservation. So Mackie and Mark, I'd like to welcome you to the conversation. We're going to begin with a short discussion of Mackie's experiences, but I'd like to go ahead and invite Mark Peck to begin the conversation. Mark?
Thanks, Mark. And hi, Mackie. How you doing?
Good. Doing great. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good. Mackie, I want to start with the Canadian Whale Institute and the Campobello Whale Rescue Team. Can you tell me where you're located and why is that area important for whale research?
We're located on a small island in the mouth of the Bay of Fundy, between New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, as you can see on the map there. Our logo there, Campbell Whale Rescue Team. And traditionally, the Bay of Fundy has been really important for a lot of different species of whales, including the North Atlantic right whale. Although the last few years, a lot of that, most of the population of right whales has been summering in the Gulf of St. Lawrence instead of the Bay of Fundy. But yeah, our position is still sort of centrally located. The Maritimes aren't that big, so we can travel around to all 3 maritime provinces.
And so you actually do that. You expand your work not just into the Bay of Fundy, but into other parts of the Maritimes.
Yes, we're responsible for the whole east coast of Canada, except for Newfoundland. There is another team on Newfoundland that handles the coast there. So yeah, we got a big area, even up into the St. Lawrence estuary, as far as up into the Saguenay, as far as the whales go.
So I can't imagine that you can just wake up in the morning and decide, you want to rescue a whale. Do you work with other organizations to actually help you with this work that you're doing?
Yes, we do. There is an Atlantic large whale disentanglement network that stretches from Florida to our teams here in the Maritimes, and we do work together. A lot of these whales are migratory, and we get entanglements from both countries. So sometimes we deal with American entanglements and vice versa. So yeah, we work with a lot of different agencies to help us. One of our main partners would be DFO, Department of Fisheries and Oceans. They support us heavily, for our operations here on the East Coast.
Okay, I've been listening to Mark and I read your bio earlier, and I noticed you've been fishing your whole life. You grew up on Campobello Island. You own and run Island Cruise Marine Adventure Tours, and you are the director of the Whale Rescue Program. And in case that wasn't enough, you've been a volunteer whale disentangler since 2002. Can you tell me a little bit how all of this work that you've been doing sort of complements each other to help the whales?
Yes, being a fisherman, of course, you're used to working in that nasty marine environment by times. You're used to the rope, the fishing gear, used to dealing with urgent situations on the water. So that helps a lot, coming from the fishing background. Whale watching really helped a lot in really sparked my interest and got my love going for the whales, but also just whale behavior, trying to figure out what the whale is going to do next. So after watching them for 26 summers, whale watching, it does help. Every individual, every species act a little bit differently, but the more time you can spend with them, the better off you are, which really comes into play when we're trying to get really close to these whales, so we can reach out to disentangle them. Like I say, if you can anticipate what they're going to do, or when they're getting stressed out, so you can leave them alone and back off and wait for them to calm down when it's safer to approach.
Fair enough. For people who may not know, what is whale disentanglement and what are we talking about? Is this just some fishing line stuck on a whale, or what is this exactly?
Well, it's mostly the rope that we get on the whales. Sometimes we do get some fishing gear, sometimes nets, but most of the time it's just the rope. These whales are very strong, and they can break off a lot of gear and get clear of it themselves. A lot of these right whales, around between 70 to 80%, have scars of previous entanglements. So they're really good at getting untangled themselves. But yeah, we do get some traps, sometimes nets. We've had a little bit of everything, but usually it's the rope that's wrapped around the whale. It can be body wraps, caught on the flipper, caught in their mouth, in their baleen, or wrapped around their tail. So, and some of them can be pretty involved.
And is it just North Atlantic right whales, or are there other species that you're working with as well?
No, we work with all species of large whales here on the East Coast. But the North Atlantic right whales, being so endangered, they're the most important ones for us to try to rescue. But the way the right whales feed, swimming around with their mouth open, straining the water for plankton, really leaves them vulnerable to fishing gear. So if there's fishing gear in the water, they can run into that. They have a hard job seeing directly right in front of them. So they can hit the rope, and then whales can't really swim backwards. So they can get, they start doing almost like an alligator roll or something, you can envision to roll up in the rope and try to break it clear. But yeah, humpbacks tend to get tangled up. They have really big, long flippers, about a third of their body length. So their flippers can be 15 feet long. So, with those sticking out, takes up a lot of room in the water column, a big catching point. Some of the fin whales and minke whales, although they do get entangled, they're more a gulp feeder, chasing fish, and pretty streamlined. So, those species seem to be a little better off around the fishing gear.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, can you take me through what it looks like when you first get someone gives you a phone call and says, we've got an entangled whale, and how you go from, getting it untangled?
Yes. We, of course, we have to we have a Zodiac, like you can see on your screen there, that we trailer with, to the closest port anywhere in the Maritimes. Then we'll deploy. We like to have a crew of 4 or 5 people to go. And when we get there, everyone's different, so we have to do an on-scene assessment. But yeah, we usually try to see what parts of are entangled on the whale, like say mouth flippers or whatever. And then we just try to start cutting the rope at the head and work back. Whales, so the whale can swim out of the gear, swim free. So that's our aim, is to try to get every piece of rope off. We say we want to leave them naked, and a lot of times that doesn't happen. But anything we can do, any lines we can cut, and any rope we can get off there is all a help to the whale. That's for sure. So there is, you're hoping for the best, but that don't always happen. But anything's a definite help. That's for sure.
And how much rope is actually on a whale? Does it vary a lot?
It does vary a lot. Yeah. Yeah, we had a humpback before Christmas on the 21st of December that was tangled up in 4 sets of lobster gear, 4 trawls. So the amount of line, we probably had 30 to 35 body wraps around the whale, as well as all the lines, to the anchors and the fishing gear. You're talking somewhere around 120 traps that was hooked to this whale, still on bottom, but so yeah, it can be a lot of gear, or sometimes it can just be, a line through the mouth and it's parted off and just a whale length or so left. So anywhere in between.
Huh. Okay. So I'm looking at the pictures here, and I'm seeing some long poles and a rope being thrown. Can you tell me more about the equipment that you're actually using to disentangle these? And it looks like you're pretty close. Is it dangerous to be that close to a whale?
It is dangerous to be that close to the whale. These are the largest creatures on Earth. They're unpredictable, and they're underwater. They disappear most of the time. We don't know where they are. So only on the surface for a few seconds. So yeah, it is dangerous to get that close. So you got to be really careful. That's where the whale behavior comes in so much. Just knowing how to get away from the whale is just as valuable as how to get in close to it. That's for sure. But yeah, we use, you can see us throwing a line there in the top picture. And that was a grapple, like you can see here. And what we do, this is a rope jamming grapple. So we try to put a control line on the whale. So we'll throw this out and try to snag it into the fishing gear that's entangled on the whale. And then we'll usually use a whale's length of rope, 50, 60 feet. And a big fishing balloon, a big, like the orange balloons you can see in the stern of the boat there, and let the whale tow that along. So, and we call it a control line. It doesn't give us much control with the whale, but it does help us spot the whale. And what we're trying to do is to slow the whale down and tire him out so he'll stay up on the surface so we can actually cut the ropes off. So we use a lot of the old whaler techniques. So for different reasons, that's for sure, but it's sort of the same theory. They used to harpoon the whale and then keg the whale with nail kegs so they would float, to tire out the whale. So we just grapple into the gear, and we use the big poly balloons, and we use sometimes 4 or 5, and the whales will haul those under. We can go on a 10-minute dive. So. But that's what you can see in that top picture. We're just throwing this grapple over top of the fishing gear that the whale's towing to try to snag it and put a control line on.
So that control line's not attached to your Zodiac. It's actually going to be attached to a buoy that you just drop off and
yes, we drop yes, and we'll put 4 or 5 of these big balloons on the line, like I say, to tire the whale out. We'll try to get them as close to the whale as we can. But these guys, these North Atlantic right whales can dive for 15, 20 minutes and haul 4 or 5 of those big balloons under. So wow. Yeah, definitely not tied to the boat, because it could haul the boat under. They're that big, that strong. So, but we try to, we call it a Nantucket sleigh ride after the old whalers. When they used to use the boat, they used to get towed by the whale to help tire the whale out. So sometimes we do gaff one of the balloons that the whale is towing and hold that in the bow of the Zodiac, just to add a little more strain to the whale. Just again, try to slow him down and tire him out, keep him on the surface. And sometimes just that extra strain is enough to actually pull the gear off the whale.
So I'm getting the impression that you guys are a little crazy and incredibly committed to helping with this, with program.
Yeah, you gotta be committed. They're long, hard days. You can see you're out in the weather. You get 50, 60 miles offshore, especially up in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. The weather can change quick, so it's a long ways home on those nights. So you do get beat up a little bit. Yeah, and I wouldn't say too much as much crazy, but it's sort of a controlled chaos is what it is, I guess, sort of. We do have a lot of safety protocols that we operate by to make sure the team's safe. Human safety's our number one thing, that's for sure. So, and we work together as a team with everybody has a role, and we communicate constantly the whole time. So it's that's why we have the open boat as well, just so we can see and communicate with each other so well. So
Wow, amazing and very brave. Okay, so you've slowed the whale down, it's tired. Now what do you do?
now you can see the long poles there. We have sectional poles that we can put together so we can get 20 or 30 feet long. And we have a bunch of different cutting tools that we can put on the end of those poles. So this one's, you can see here, it's a V knife so that we can reach out and hook the rope. And as the whale dives or swims away from us, that'll cut the line so we can hold on the pole. Sometimes we pull, but most of the time you're just holding on the pole as the whale swims away from you to actually cut the line. So you can see one of these knives up in the top left corner. These are all specially made, serrated, really razor sharp blades. But you can see on the tip there, we do have a little bit of a rod there put on the end of the knife, just so we don't cut the whale so bad. So that'll help us guide it along the whale without actually cutting into the whale's skin.
And what does it feel like when a whale is swimming away from you and you're trying to hold on to this and cut the rope at the same time?
There's no feeling like it. Being a fisherman is like the biggest fish you could ever catch. And I'm sure that would go for recreational fishermen as well. You know, just imagine you got the biggest fish ever on the end of that line. And yeah, it's amazing. And when it cuts, you know, it takes some strain and there's that pop. You can definitely feel it. Everyone in the boat can feel it when that line cuts, you know, and it's just so exhilarating, that feeling, you know, because you know, every cut you make makes a big difference for these whales. And sometimes that's all it takes is one or two cuts to get the whale untangled. And so, yeah, every cut you make, like I say, there's nothing that feels like it. You could almost jump out of the boat and run home sometimes. You feel so good.
Oh, that's amazing. How did you get started in this, Mackie? What drove you to do this? And especially considering you were doing this as a volunteer.
Yeah, when we first started, yeah, we were all volunteers, but what got it started, we were whale watching summers with my own business there, and we had a whale tangled up one summer. And there wasn't really called fisheries. There wasn't really no one to help. So the New England Aquarium had a research team in Lubec, which is just on the Maine coast, just really close to Campobello here. So they come out the next day to come help us, and sort of we all worked together, and we did get some of the rope cut off the whale. So I think that's what really spawned it, was just the need for it. And then we kind of figured out that fishermen are the best people to be doing this. You know, they have all the skills they need. They just need this whale behavior to go along with it. So yeah, it just sort of, it was nothing that was really planned. It just sort of happened. You know, we told DFO, well, if, you know, we need a fast boat if we're going to go do this. So they brought us a boat and a little bit of a budget for gas, very little, but enough to get us started. And so yeah, it all went from there. So we were all volunteers for the first 15 years or so. And the last few years we have been getting paid through a grant with Department of Fisheries Oceans Canada.
Boy, you know, you must feel incredibly good when you're able to help a whale like this. So
you do, like.
Sorry, Mackie.
Yeah. Oh, no problem. Yeah, no, you do. Like you say, there's no feeling like it. And you know, we're training a new team up in Shippagan, New Brunswick, and they're all snow crab fishermen. And to see their look on their eyes when they throw that grapple and that hooks the line. it's just amazing to see the excitement, and you know, I know how they're feeling because I feel the same way. And so yeah, that's the big part for me now, is to see other people experience it, and to get that feeling.
Oh, that's great. I'm running out of time. I want to ask you one more question, and we'll let the audience ask some more. Can you tell me a little bit about snow cone? And for the people who don't know, snow cone is a female North Atlantic right whale. She was born in 2005, so she's 16 years old. And in the last couple of years, she's had a couple of traumatic experiences, and you've been involved in helping protect and rescue her, haven't you?
Yes. Lately we have. Yeah, snow cone's a really special whale. She's a real strong, stubborn female. But yeah, just a quick scenario. You give her age and everything, a good background. But yeah, she was first. I guess she lost a calf in 2020. Was her first stroke of bad luck. She was a first-time mother in 2020, and on her migration north, the calf was hit by a ship and died. So that was a lot of sad news there. The next time snow cone was seen was in early this spring. And she was entangled, and that was about 120 nautical miles south of Nantucket, Massachusetts. And the team down there were able to respond and cut some of the lines off a snow cone, but unfortunately weren't able to get all the rope off. So that's the top left-hand corner. You can see this whale had over 300 feet of rope, and large diameter rope, you know, tangled through her mouth and then trailing behind her. So they were able to shorten that up. Then the next time she was seen was May 11th this spring up in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. We were able to go up and we were able to get about 30 feet of line off of her, so shorten it up, but we couldn't get all the rope off. And then we made another attempt on July 8th of this year to go up, and we actually grappled in 3 times to snow cone, the rope getting shorter every time, but there's still about half a body length of rope coming out of her mouth. So we're still going to try to, before the summer's out, I'm hoping third time's a charm for us. So we spent a lot of time, a lot of hours with this whale. So hopefully we can get the rest of that rope off. She's really important to the population, you know, a young breeding female, and she still looks very healthy. So I think I'm hoping that, you know, we can get the rest of that rope out and let her live her life.
And can you recognize her just by sort of seeing her in the water?
It's tough. If you get a good look, I can, yes. All the right whales have a callosity pattern on top of their head. That's that white, looks like barnacles, but it's actually whale lice that are hanging onto this rough patch of skin, sort of a callus on their head. And it's like our fingerprints. So yeah, you can tell snow cone pretty easy. Part of that callosity pattern actually looks like a snow cone. So if you get a nice hit-on view, you can definitely pick her out.
Wow, amazing. Okay, I've got a couple of questions from the audience for you.
Yes.
Let me start with, how many whales per year do you rescue?
Well, it does vary. We've had years where we've never had any responses. And our most is probably 8 or 9 responses in the run of a year, and it could be anywhere in between. Last summer was fairly slow, but this summer it's looking like we're going to be pretty busy, unfortunately. But we've had reports of quite a few whales, especially in the Gulf of St. Lawrence this summer, entangled.
What was the most challenging whale disentanglement you have done?
Well, that's hard. They're all very challenging, that's for sure. But yeah, I think FDR, a right whale that we untangled here in the Bay of Fundy a few years ago, and he was actually wound up in snow crab gear from the Gulf. So this whale tangled right up, severely entangled, had swam the whole way from the Gulf of St. Lawrence down here to the Bay of Fundy before it was spotted actually by a research vessel. So we were able to go out, and, you know, this whale was entangled so bad, I don't think anybody expected us to be able to get it untangled. And we were able to get all the rope off this whale. So it was 5.5 hours of cutting, you know, and that's high energy work. Yeah, you can see on the screen here, this is parts of FDR. So you can see, you know, severely entangled, and this is through, you know, it was even worse when we first started, but you can see the masses of rope there that's through her mouth and wrapped around the body, trying to cut through all those lines. The top right hand, you can actually see the pole. You can't really see the knife, but that's right in there on those lines, trying to cut those big masses of rope to free the whale. And it is dangerous when you're in that close. These whales are very flexible, and I didn't realize it. Even whale watching all these years, I didn't realize it. But when they're entangled or trying to get away from you, you know, they can take their tail and slap themselves on the head with it. So they're that flexible. So, but yeah, amazing creatures, the things they can do.
Mackie, you know, one of the other questions that came up was certainly entanglement's a problem for North Atlantic right whales, but ship strikes are also a huge problem for right whales, especially the ones in the Gulf of St. Lawrence. Are you able to do anything to help those whales that have been struck by a ship or hit by a propeller, or is there anything else you can do once you disentangle the whales?
No, it's pretty hard. I know for entanglements, there has been some looking into using sedatives to try to sedate the whale to slow them down. That's been tried in the States some. But yeah, if one's already been hit by a ship or a propeller strike, yeah, unfortunately there's not much we can do. The big thing is prevention, and there is a lot being done for that. Transport Canada is flying the shipping lanes through the Gulf of St. Lawrence every day to look for right whales to alert, you know, all the ships and mariners in the area. And there are, you know, areas of concern where they're not allowed to go, you know, or recommended that they go slower. And there's actually speed limits for a lot of the Gulf. So these ships aren't allowed to travel as fast as they normally would, you know, to help protect the whales. So there is a lot being done, both by the fishing industry and the shipping industry to help protect the right whales. So both are very proactive.
Mackie, do you think the whales recognize that you're trying to help them?
Some do. It seems like if we can, especially if there's tight body wraps, once we start cutting those and they start relieving the pressure, yeah, sometimes they will stop. We've even had whales that come to the surface and will swim towards us. It's almost like they're asking you to cut the lines off them. But then sometimes they fight you right to the end, like snow cone. We did put a lot of pressure. I'm sure, you know, we caused her some pain. Unfortunately, you know, trying to cut this rope out. So I don't think she likes us very well. So she really tries to avoid our Zodiac now, you know, really, really hard. So, but yeah, they do definitely get to know you, both good and bad, I guess. They're very smart creatures.
And are you doing this throughout the year, or is it concentrated in the specific time periods that you're really out disentangling whales?
It is. We do it year round. Most of the whales migrate south, so we don't have a lot of whales, fortunately, off the east coast of Canada in the wintertime, which primarily is when most of the fishing is taking place, especially the lobster fisheries. So we're kind of lucky there, you know, with the fishing seasons and the migratory routes of the whales and times. We're pretty lucky on the east coast. You know, through the winter, when all the fishing gear is out, there's no whales, so we're not really very, very active. But occasionally we do have a whale in the winter months.
Okay, I know we're probably going overtime, but I could ask you questions all day here, Mackie. and I'm getting a lot of questions coming in too. You know, we're in Toronto. We've got a whale exhibition, both about the beauty of whales, but also the conservation need for whales today. How can people across the country, and not just, you know, depending on you, how can we help the whales and the fishing industry both be economically viable and at the same time protect the whales? What can we do to help?
Well, eat lots of seafood. That's the main thing that'll help the fishing industry. But yeah, no, the fishermen, the fishery has been very proactive. The technology is not quite there yet, but there has been a lot of work towards a ropeless fishery with you know, buoys on the bottom that are attached to the trap that you can trigger from the vessel, so that the buoy will pop to the surface and you can haul your gear. You know, so there's not that rope in the water column all the time. So yeah, there's, you know, we're working towards that. But yeah, like I say, the main thing is just, be aware of the problem and support the fishing industry and the shipping industry, because everybody's working really hard to try to solve this problem.
So the fishermen are a big part of the solution here. They're not going out to try and obviously kill whales or entangle them. They're trying to do the best they can and making changes to the industry in order to help protect the whales.
Yes, they modified their fishing seasons. They modify their gear. And like I say, there are some trial, it's in the trial stage. Now it's actually worked. I guess they've actually fished and caught some snow crab with this ropeless gear. But, for all the fishermen to fish together in a fleet in an area and everybody be able to work together, the technology is not there yet, but it's coming. So yeah, they've been really proactive. They've done a lot. And that's the last thing a fisherman wants is to catch a whale. He loses his gear. It's all expensive. He loses his catch, for the season out of that gear. And he's going to spend a lot of time looking for that gear because he doesn't know what's happened to it. So, that's the last thing a fisherman wants, is to have a whale get entangled in his gear.
And regulations today are actually closing fishing areas when whales are sighted in those areas, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Yes, it's the whole East Coast has a grid system over it. And if right whales are seen in a grid, it closes that grid and the 9 grids around it. And there's more details than that, but yeah, no, it is very proactive, very dynamic, the closure of these fishing areas to protect the whales. So, and this causes a lot of work for the fishermen to shift and move their gear, but they see the value in it. They don't want to, like I say, they don't want to catch whales. It's bad publicity, but it's a financial loss to them as well.
Okay, so most of us are never going to get out and disentangle whales, which is probably a good thing. But how about whale watching tours? Do you think whale watching tours and ecotourism actually helps the whales, or is it more of a problem for them?
Well, I think it depends on the area. I think it's great for the education, for everybody to be able to go out and see the whales and so that's a good aspect. I think too much traffic around the whales is detrimental to them. So I think there is a happy medium there, with controlled whale watching and there are stiff regulations in Canada to make sure that, the whales aren't harassed by the whale watch boats.
Great. Mackie, I think I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. It was so informative. Your presentation was fantastic. And I hope everyone else, had the opportunity. I think we got through most of the questions. And I hope if you do go out to the East Coast, you'll eat a lobster and some fish and maybe get on an ecotourism trip with Mackie and check out the Canadian Whale Institute and the Whale Rescue Team. I'm going to pass it over to Mark Engstrom as well. Thanks very much.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Mackie for joining us. It's really been incredible. I think it's really inspirational. And I'm so excited to learn about the participation of the fishermen and the shipping industry and so on, and trying to resolve the problem. So I think everybody wants wants the whales to survive. And of course, and if we can deal with these two issues, both with ship strikes and with entanglement, then where North Atlantic right whales have a chance, as do our other whales. So I would also encourage everybody to, to both participate in this program and try to do what you can to assist conservation. Let your governments know that you support whale conservation and marine conservation on the East Coast. And if you can, take a trip out east and see what it's really all about. It's a fantastic part of the country. And matter of fact, I think the most spectacular part of the country. And seeing the whales in person is just really, again, inspirational. I'd like to, if are there any more questions that have come in through the Q&A, Mark?
I think they've been closed off at this point, Mark.
Okay, so I'd like to thank you all for joining us. I'd especially like again thank Mackie and Mark for help for the conversation. Know that there are a lot of efforts being done to try to conserve, especially the North Atlantic right whales, but other whales on the East Coast. And I hope you'll get a chance to come see our exhibition. It's a plug for a plug for the ROM. But we've worked hard on it, and we've tried to share a lot of this information. There's a lot more information within the exhibition itself, both on what is being done to conserve whales and also what you can do as an individual here in Toronto, whether you visit the East Coast or not. So thank you, all of you, for joining us. I hope to see you again for our next digital program, which will be tomorrow, July 29th, which features blue whale researcher Asha DeVos. Details of all their upcoming ROM at Home online programs can be found on the ROM's website and also our social media channels. So thank you very much.